5th century Alexandria was a volatile, hostile environment for ancient Greek philosophy. In a city dominated by a newly empowered Christian majority, pagan philosophical schools faced an existential, physical threat from violent mobs. Ammonius of Hermaeus acted as a pragmatic architect, engineering his philosophy to survive the physical and cultural decay represented by these ruins. To protect their institutions, the Neoplatonists of Alexandria relied on a core directive, the absolute conviction that Plato and Aristotle were describing the exact same underlying reality. This split-screen diagram illustrates the severe structural clash between the two thinkers. Plato's universe is driven top-down by a demiurge, a divine craftsman who actively built the physical world. Aristotle builds from the ground up through natural teleology, where objects move toward their natural ends. To ensure the survival of pagan philosophy, Ammonius had to engineer a unified front. He needed to restructure Aristotelian physics and logic so they could serve as a frictionless runway directly into Platonic theology. Aristotle's system contained two specific concepts that made it pedagogically dangerous in a Christian-dominated city: a non-creator God and absolute logical determinism. Aristotle relies on a prime mover, the primary cause of cosmic motion. It rigidly attracts the universe, but does not actively create it. Plato offered an alternative with massive moral and creative stakes, a universe built intentionally by a purposeful creator. Ammonius integrated these competing systems by executing two specific conceptual patches. First, rerouting the prime mover's causality. Second, solving the sea battle's logic. This alignment provided a structural template that allowed classical thought to persist and function with a new monotheistic social order. This causal network graph illustrates Proclus's critique. A god acting only as a target of desire lacks creative power. Ammonius engineered a counter-derivation using Aristotle's physics. Focusing on the phrase origin of motion, he established that any origin of motion is intrinsically a productive cause. He details a second logical step. If a finite body has limited power, its eternal motion requires an unbodily source. This leads to his central claim: the entity supplying eternal motion also supplies eternal being. Aristotle's God is now the final and efficient cause. By mathematically grafting efficient causality onto Aristotle's God, Ammonius aligned Aristotelian physics with Platonic creation without discarding either text. That solves the physics problem. But Ammonius faced a second challenge. If God creates and knows everything, how do we protect human contingency and free will from absolute determinism? To frame the stakes, Ammonius breaks down the Stoic reaper argument. This logic trap claims that if you will reap your harvest tomorrow, the act of reaping is treated as an unavoidable, necessary premise today. It identifies the modal fallacy of treating a contingent future action as a fixed reality. The argument from divine foreknowledge poses a more severe threat. If the gods know the exact outcome of a battle beforehand, is that outcome fixed? This diagram shows Ammonius's epistemological patch. A timeline of human perception sits below a divine vantage point. Knowledge depends on the nature of the knower, not the thing known. Observing from outside time, the gods possess definite knowledge of contingent events. Human free will remains logically intact. Divine observation does not alter the underlying modal architecture of the event itself. Ammonius then applies his system to its ultimate test: Aristotle's infamous "See Battle Tomorrow" paradox from De Interpretatio, Chapter 9. This binary logic tree demonstrates the standard Aristotelian problem of bivalence, the principle that every declarative statement must be either true or false. If every statement must be true or false right now, predicting a future sea battle forces reality into a deterministic path. Ammonius introduces a bespoke modal solution. Statements about future contingents do divide the true and false, but they do so using a specific operator. They are true or false, not in a definite manner. He contrasts this with a necessary truth. Fire is hot resolves immediately as a definite truth. Applied to the sea battle, its truth value exists purely in indefinite potential. It is not locked into reality until the human timeline actually reaches the event. This semantic filter allowed Ammonius to save Aristotelian bivalence for his logic curriculum without sacrificing the open future required by Platonic morality. This structured pyramid illustrates the completed architecture. Ammonius engineered a robust, text-based curriculum that starts with logic, starts through ethics and physics, and caps with theology. Modern scholars debate his exact motives. Some argue Ammonius stripped out theurgy, pagan magical rituals, to appease a Christian bishop. Others maintain he simply wanted to focus entirely on rigorous, text-based pedagogy. Regardless of his personal motives, the result was a highly rationalized philosophical framework that was incredibly exportable. This harmonized version of Aristotle was the framework transmitted to the Syriac and Arabic intellectual worlds. Later philosophers, including Avicenna and Thomas Aquinas, used this exact structural blueprint to build their own intellectual systems, redefining Aristotle's God as a creator while carefully preserving the logical space for free will were the absolute prerequisites for Aristotle's adoption by monotheistic religions. Ammonius provided the technical bridge between antiquity and the Middle Ages, serving as the systems engineer for the next millennium of Western and Islamic philosophy.